OWCP podcast with Chris and Gini.
This is sort of a redo of last night's Wednesday night chats. You can find that at Wednesday night OWCP chats with Chris and Gini.
Yep.
We're in a hotel in Park City, and hotel Wi-Fi was awful, like worst ever. We've had a problem the whole time, and everyone said it was choppy and blurry. So we went and bought
Our own Wi-Fi.
a high-powered Wi-Fi that we can just travel with.
Yeah.
And so we're going to try this again. Turn the chat on. But
yeah, so go grab your friends. Like I said, grab your friends and your coworkers, have them hop on here or on our YouTube page if they do not have social media.
And the YouTube page is Wednesday night OWCP chats with
Yes.
Chris and Gini. So go check it out there if that's where you like to watch stuff. But last night was really important because we had someone who said, why don't you ever teach about a CA16? And of course, we teach about CA16s all the time.
Yeah.
And it's because I believe it's the most important thing you can do after getting hurt at work is make sure you get that form. So today, we're going to discuss CA16, CA17s, and CA7. Again, it's a redo from last night, but this one's going to sound and look a lot better.
Yeah, I know a lot of you, and then I even listened to it. It was super choppy. So we've had numerous messages from people that didn't even know what a CA16 was. Numerous messages on people saying that their job isn't accepting some of their CA17s because of their limitations. And then CA7s, a lot of you are submitting CA7s and your claim hasn't even been accepted yet. So let's first talk about CA17s, what it is, where you get it from, and how it's supposed to be handled.
So CA17 is called a duty status report. The duty status report is used by the physician to write restrictions or remove restrictions to take you off of work or to send you back to work. It is the recognized way, and it is the only recognized way in OWCP by rule for your doctor to do those things.
Yes.
The problem is it originates with your supervisor. It's divided into two sections, side A, side B. Side A says supervisor, side B says physician. Too many times a supervisor says, I don't have to give that to you, or I don't want to give it to you. But that's not what the rules state, and the rules are the second page to the CA17, so check that out. But you're going to have to, after an injury, get these from your supervisor periodically.
Right.
You'll get them anytime your doctor needs to make a modification to it. You may be getting better, and so your restrictions get lifted somewhat, or you're getting worse, or you can go back to work because you're all the way better. So you need a new CA17 every time there's a change in your ability to work.
Correct.
That's really critically important because lots of people say, well, I'm just going to take off work. And work injuries are not vacations. That's a big problem. So in my book, The 25 Things You Can Do to Win in OWCP, one of the 25 things is follow your doctor's orders. Well, if your doctor says you can go back to work with some restrictions and you say, I don't think so, and so you don't go back to work, you can't come to me later and say, Chris, can you help me get paid?
Right.
Nobody can.
Nope.
Because you didn't follow doctor's orders. Instead, you're going to be placed on the AWOL, potentially removed from your position, okay, aka fired. So don't do that to yourself. But even if those two things don't happen, you will not get that time back because you didn't follow doctor's orders. So definitely follow your doctor's orders. Now, the next problem you're going to see with the CA17 is supervisors not following the restrictions. And that's really important because the CA17 is a medical document. Its purpose is to keep you safe at work.
Yes.
So if you go back to work with restrictions and your supervisor doesn't follow those restrictions, what can everybody do? You don't know? Okay. File a grievance.
I knew that.
File a damn grievance.
I was hoping somebody was going to say it.
So file a grievance. When your supervisor is not following your doctor's restrictions, file a grievance. Because that's not safe for you. It's not like you can just like walk off the job because there's penalties for that. But you got to get with your union like immediately. So the thing with the CA17 is that's also going to trigger a limited duty assignment, right? Or limited duty offer. And your supervisor, after your claim is accepted, not before, your supervisor will, with an accepted claim, be required to make every possible to do everything possible to find a limited duty offer. In other words, to find tasks that are within your restrictions. And once they do that limited duty offer to you, they give it to you, they're also required to give it to your claims examiner to review.
Right.
Once your claims examiner reviews it, then the claims examiner will notify you that you can that you have what looks like a valid job offer. And at that point, guess what they do? Do they make you sign the job offer right now?
No.
They don't. No. They tell you, now you have 30 days to go review this with your doctor.
And before he goes on, a lot of you say that your supervisors, or you may not know that you have 30 days, but you definitely have 30 days. So please think about it very, what's the word? Carefully.
Yeah. And that's another thing. In the 25 things you can do to win an OWCP, one of those 25 things is don't be bullied into accepted limited duty offers.
Right.
Because the supervisors are coming to you saying, here's the offer, sign this now. And up until now, here's what you've been told. You've been told, sign under protest. I am signing under protest. Well, there's nothing in the rules on limited duty assignments that require you to do that. None. Okay. And the rules are specifically listed in my 25 things book. You don't have to sign under protest. You don't have to sign at all right now. And your supervisors are going to say, yeah, you do. But you just need to show the rules.
Right.
I have 30 days from when the claims examiner notifies me, not from today. You got to send this to the claims examiner too, so I'll wait. That's really, really important. So don't get bullied into accepting limited duty offers, because you need to take it to your doctor and make sure that it matches the restrictions on your CA-17. So that's awesome information for you. But again, you'll find that in my most recent book. What else on CA-17s?
Another thing is the CA-17, and please understand, the doctor is not going to write a CA-17 so you can take vacation. It doesn't work that way.
That's right. So the good news is, if you have a work injury and you're off of work, it doesn't mean you can't take that family vacation you were planning on taking. It just means that you have to code that time as annual leave. And you're allowed to take a vacation when you're on work restrictions or you're off of work. You're allowed to do that. But we had somebody a long time ago, before we started the franchise, who asked one of the doctors I trained if they could do that. And he called me up and said, this is what happened. They want to take a vacation. What do I do? I said, Doc, you know the answer. He said, yeah, you're right. Don't do that. So CA-17s are not for vacations. That will get you and your doctor in a lot of trouble. So go to work when it's time to go to work. And when it's time is when your doctor says so. Follow the work restrictions. If the restrictions are not followed by management, go to your union and file a grievance.
Yeah. And also remember, and we've heard this from a state president in Florida, there are those investigators. So if you're on certain restrictions, you must follow them, because we've heard where, okay, they were only supposed to lift like 5 or 10 pounds and they're lifting like a 70, 80 pound bag of dog food from going to the grocery. They got in trouble. There are people that are watching if they find something suspicious.
Yeah, and what I'll tell people all the time is they may not always be watching,
right.
and they're not. But you should just act as if. Just act as if. And also, if your restrictions say 25 pounds, but you can pain-free lift 70 pounds, go back to the doctor.
Yes.
And doc, these restrictions aren't right. I can lift this bag of dog food all day long. So just keep that in mind. We want to be accurate with these restrictions. Why that's important is because we want you to go to work and clock in and get paid. And the surest way to get paid is to clock in.
Clock in.
So because when you're not on the clock and instead you're off on LWOP, you got to jump through hoops to get paid, okay, which will lead us to the CA-7.
Correct. CA-7s, you must have an accepted claim. A lot of you have been telling me you are submitting CA-7s and you're getting a denial from the Department of Labor saying they're denying it. Why are they denying it? When I asked you for your denial letters, it clearly states they don't have a narrative from your doctor. So you have to have an accepted claim to start submitting CA-7s, but that doesn't mean you can still fill them out. Fill them out and keep them, so when you do get accepted, you can submit that.
Yeah, so the second you start taking LWOP time, or let's say you're on continuation of pay, which I'm not going to go into here, but in a minute I will. Let's say you're on COP. As soon as COP runs out, you should start documenting your LWOP time. And maybe you're going to use sick and annual leave and you'll consider doing leave buyback later. But at the point that you start LWOP, even when your claim is not approved yet, start documenting on your Form CA-7 your time off. because we've had people wait months to start filling these things out, and it's just overwhelming.
Yes.
And then they just say, forget it. They throw their hands up and don't fill it out, so they don't get their time back. They don't get paid for the time. So go ahead and start filling out your CA7s and potentially CA7A, which is called a time analysis sheet. It's just how you break down what was, what percentage of your time was annual, sick, vacation, holiday. Well, vacation is annual, holiday time, LWOP time, etc. So keep really good notes and accounting on that. Now, the other thing is these are filled out on eComp now, but you can still find a paper CA7 to fill out by hand, so that when it's time to submit by eComp, you can just transpose it from the paper to the computer. I recommend doing that. Keep track of your time now. So let's say that your claim is accepted and you can start submitting these CA7s for LWOP. Well, at that point, let's say you fill it out perfectly. It's a perfectly filled out CA7 and you submit that. What's going to happen?
Sometimes it'll get denied.
It'll get denied every single time because you didn't attach any documentation. So
now,
you can't.
That doesn't mean that it will always get denied.
I've never seen it not get denied.
Right.
So no, it always gets denied. And this is why. It always gets denied when you don't attach documentation. So as soon as you're ready to submit your CA7s, you also need to upload, which you can do easily on eComp, a copy of your CA17, a copy of what we call a disability narrative. It's where your doctor describes why you're out of work, why medically you have to be out of work for that time that you're out of work. And then a form called a CA20. And the CA20 is also filled out by the doctor. And that basically just says, here's your current status. This is everything going on with you. It's like a medical narrative, but it's a form, okay? So attach those three things to the CA7 to ensure you get paid. And just in case, if you're out of work and you're on LWOP because you went to the doctor, then also attach printouts of your appointments signed by the doctor.
So those 4 pieces of paper.
Or signed by the therapist, whoever you're treating with, have them sign your documentation or your proof that you were there, and then upload all that with your CA7. And when you do that, you're going to probably get paid 90+% of the time. Mm-hmm. If you don't upload those documents, you're not getting paid. Okay, you're going to wait on a check, and instead you're going to get a letter in the mail that says your claim for compensation is denied because.
But just remember, you must only do it when your claim is accepted. Don't start. And being accepted means the doctor submitted their narrative. It's giving some time, maybe a month or two. You'll get that your claim has been accepted. However, a lot of you are thinking that your claim is accepted when you get a letter from Department of Labor saying, here is your claim number. That's not an accepted claim.
No. Claim number just is like a placeholder in a file cabinet.
Yes.
It says, that 9-digit number is you. That's all it says. This is you. It doesn't say you're approved. It just says, hey, this number is you.
Yeah, so you take that claim number. If you had went to the emergency or an ortho or MRI, say this is my claim number, but it's not accepted yet. Remember that.
Right. Now that's important for the medical facilities because they can't get paid until your claim is accepted. But as soon as your claim is accepted, everyone gets paid for services that are medically necessary. But the other thing I say about medical facilities getting paid is that's not your problem. I wouldn't worry about that at all unless or until they send you a bill.
Right.
And then obviously it becomes your problem. But if they understand OWCP, they know that as soon as the claim is accepted, they're getting paid anyway. So, but definitely give them that claim number. But it does not mean your claim is necessarily approved.
Let's see, we have Honda Racing from YouTube. Hello.
What's up, Honda Racing?
My case has been approved for a while and have used a lot of my leave, and they tell me I have to buy it back.
Well, okay. If you want it back, you have to buy it back. It's a form CA7B that's also attached to the 7 and maybe the 7A. It depends on if your time off was intermittent or if it was just continuous. But the thing about leave buyback is it's what it sounds like. You're buying it back. It's not free. Right. Some people just buy a portion of it back. They're like, I just want to take a vacation. I want 7 days back or whatever. Some people buy months back at a time. But it's your call. The CA7B is a worksheet, and that if you fill that out, it'll tell you whether or not you want to do it. It's a personal decision, but that is the only way to get your time back.
All right, we have a lot of you hopping on. Hello, everybody. We are discussing what we talked about last night because it was a little choppy on Wednesday night chats. CA16, CA17, and CA7s and what they're about. So if you missed the beginning, it will be on here, or you can always listen to the podcast. Can I go out on disability if I can't do my job due to the injury?
Yeah, so I'd love to know your real first name, but I love Honda Racing as a code name. That's fun. Can I go on disability? Yeah, you can go on disability. The Office of Personnel Management is who takes care of that. That is not an OWCP thing, because you can go on disability for, as I wrote in one of my books, a shark bite out on the ocean during a vacation.
Right.
That's not work related.
No.
So you can go on disability without it being a work injury, right? Hey, Charles. What's up, Charles? So, yeah, you can do it, but when your claim is accepted and you can't do your job, you can take off or get limited duty, modified job offer from management. But again, I don't know your situation, but you asked, could you do that? And yeah, the answer is absolutely, you can do that if you can't do your job due to injury or due to any other illness or injury. Those are good questions, Charles. Thanks.
Anybody have any questions again on the CA17
or the CA7
or the CA7 before we move on to the last awesome form that a lot of you don't know about?
And while you're thinking about that, just to recap, we talked about the CA17 duty status report. That's how your doctor writes restrictions, takes you off of work, sends you back to work. You have to get it from management. Once your claim is accepted, that CA17 should trigger a limited duty offer.
Right.
If you get a limited duty offer, then that also has to go to your claims examiner to review. Your claims examiner will notify you that you've got a valid job offer. Management can notify you, but the rule states that the claims examiner will notify you, at which point you're given 30 days to review it with your doctor. Now, I didn't say this before, but don't take all 30 days. If it takes 3 days, then great, because the faster you get back to work, the faster you get to clock in and get paid.
Yep.
And that's what we want for you, is just to get back and clock in so you don't have to jump through hoops. And I just told you, like on the CA7, you have to jump through hoops to get paid, because first you got to fill the form out perfectly. What I didn't say is your supervisor's going to do their part perfectly, and they're bad at it lots of times. But then you have to attach documentation that your doctor has to fill out or write. And so it's a lot of hassle for you to get paid when you're out of work on LWOP. But there's no hassle in just clocking in, because the paycheck just comes.
Right.
They're required to pay you. So while we're not the company doctor, I said last night, I'll say it again today, nobody would ever confuse me as somebody that likes management. I'm the last guy. Okay. I get told to stop being so verbally abusive to management. I just can't do it. So we're not the company doctor, but we do care about your well-being so much that we understand you need to get paid. And the surest way to do that is to clock in.
What happens when supervisors refuse to fill out side A of their CA17?
So you have two options. If the supervisor says, I refuse, I'm not even going to give you the form, whatever, you can still go to federalinjurycenters.com and print out your own CA17. Okay, you can do that. And at which point your doctor can fill out side B as good as possible, not having the supervisor's information on side A. And you can take a Sharpie and write on side A, supervisor refused. You can use the supervisor's name if you want. When I teach this, I want to make it clear that my purpose is not to get management in trouble. I don't care about that. There's no value in it. All it's doing is causing more problems between you and them. I don't want them. If they get in trouble, that's their fault. But that's not the purpose of the black Sharpie technique, is what I call it. Instead, it's like your doctor needed to do something, and the claims examiner is going to see it, and they're going to say to the doctor, "Why didn't you fill out side A? Or why do you have a blank side A?" Well, the truth is the answer. The supervisor refused. And so we're just telling the truth in advance. That's it.
Right. And if you do have their first and last name, put it down.
Yeah, Supervisor John Smith refused to give it to me.
Right.
It'll only happen once.
They'll never do it again.
Now, that's one option. The less combative option is just to print out an OWCP 5C. You can get that from my website as well, federalinjurycenters.com. An OWCP 5C is more information than a CA17. It's a little bit overkill, but it doesn't require supervisor writing anything on it.
Right.
So the doctor can just fill it out, write the restrictions. You can take that to your supervisor. Somehow we need to let them know what your status is, and those are the ways we do it. So that was a really good point.
All right. Anybody else on CA17s or CA7s? If not, we're going to move on to the last most important form, which a lot of you don't even know about it.
Never even heard about it.
Your supervisors either don't know about it don't want to give it to you. Some even union folks, presidents and whatnot, still don't remember, oh yeah, we got to get you a CA-16. It's not something they're going to say, hey, you have to have this. And on a CA-16, you can only receive one when you file a CA-1, not a CA-2. Honda Racing, Jen Sprock was helping me, and I think she needs to do a little more. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks for letting me know that,
Thank
Charles.
you.
We'll let her know. We'll
Yeah.
talk to her.
All right, so to the CA-16. What is a CA-16, Chris?
So the CA-16 is so important. Every time I teach this live to union audiences, I say that there are two things that when they're missed are the keys to financial destruction in someone's life. And that is not getting a Form CA-16 and not electing continuation of pay. And so let me just briefly hit COP. I said in the beginning, I'll touch on it later. This is where I do that. Continuation of pay is something, and both of these with the CA-16 as well, are only eligible for CA-1 claims that happen in a single shift.
Correct.
And they both have time limits that if you miss the time limit, you can't have them anymore. So what you need to do is when you get injured, you need to report it today. Report it right away. I don't care if you're busy. Stop, report. Now, what does report mean? Send an email to your supervisor and go verbally tell your supervisor in case there's somebody that doesn't check email. But you put it in an email because now it's in writing. You can prove that you reported it. You'll see in a minute why it's important. And then you let them know. They're not going to like it very much, but number 25 in my book of 25 things is forget your supervisor's feelings. We don't care, okay? You're the one that's hurt, not them. Their job is to figure this out. Your job is to go get better now.
Right.
So report right away, because if you don't report within 7 days, you can't have a CA-16. I'll explain what that is in a minute. And if you don't report within 30 days, you also can't have continuation of pay. So continuation of pay is good for up to 45 days of time off after a CA-1 injury that was reported within 30 days. Report now, and you can have up to 45 calendar days off if you need it off. And they pay you for that. Continuation of pay is how your pay will be coded or should be coded. When people don't elect that on box 15, letter A of the CA-1, but instead elect sick and annual leave, well, now you're using all your sick and annual leave. And don't you want to go on vacation, right? Or if you get sick, wouldn't you like to have that available? Or as I heard a really great guy for Bureau of Prisons say, you want to have some of that left over just in case later on, right? So I had a senior claims examiner tell me, Chris, from now on, you should just tell everybody to select COP every single time, because the worst case scenario is like if the claim is ultimately not approved, which doesn't happen at federal injury centers hardly ever, maybe 3% of the time, maybe. If it's ultimately not approved, then they're going to just pirate your sick and annual leave anyways, right? They're going to take it. So why just willingly give it to them? Give yourself a fighting chance to get your claim accepted and not have to use your sick and annual leave. So that's what COP is. And that's a short description of it, but I think you get the point. Report now, and you can have that for time off. But reporting now is also good for getting your CA-16. Because there are people that say, well, let me just wait a little bit. Maybe I'm going to feel better. I'll rub some dirt on it, right? Let me just rub some dirt on it. I'm sure I'll feel better. Well, you rub some dirt on it and a week passes and now you can't have a CA-16. Well, why is it so important? A CA-16 pays all of your medical bills related to your work injury for the first 60 days following the injury.
All your MRI visits, if you have any prior
medical visits, emergency surgery,
your medications.
God forbid you need an ambulance ride,
right,
or care flight. I mean, it pays all of your medically necessary bills for the first 60 days. Now, it's not going to pay, like, let's say, this is dumb. Let's say you have a knee injury and you get a back brace. It will not pay for your back brace, okay? It's not related to the injury, right? It's got to be related to the injury. Or let's say you have a knee injury and then you get COVID. Well, it's not going to cover you for your COVID care, right? It covers everything related to the knee in that case. But the thing is, a lot of injuries resolve in 60 days with proper treatment. And if you don't have a CA-16, you're paying all the bills, right? Just bottom line, it's coming out of your pocket. Most doctors, not federal injury centers, but most other doctors will want your health insurance, which means co-pays, deductibles, co-insurance, right? It's a pain. And you didn't expect to have to pay for it. So when you report immediately, you can have a CA-16 that'll pay all your bills for 60 days. Now, hopefully, by the end of 60 days, your claim is approved.
Correct.
At which point, Department of Labor will cover all your bills for the rest of your life. So we got to get your claim accepted, because in 60 days, you're on your own again if we don't.
Right.
I do want to stress this, because at federal injury centers, and we've got like 60 something offices around the country, when you go to one of our offices, we'll never ask for money no matter what. And we actually don't care if you have a CA-16. It doesn't affect us, but it helps you everywhere else you go.
Right.
You need to go get an imaging, CA-16. You need a surgical consult, CA-16.
Yeah, once you get your CA-16 and you have to go to all these places, keep the original, have them make the copy.
Yeah, well, and that's right. But your CA-16, once filed, will just cover everything. The claims examiner knows it. They'll pay all the medical bills related to the injury. But here's where the downfall is for the CA-16, is what she said in the very beginning. Supervisors, they'll say, I don't know what that is.
Right.
I don't have to give it to you. You're not hurt bad enough. I don't know where to find it. Those are all ridiculous things. And I used to have the CA-16 on my website. And then this really nice gentleman from Department of Labor, an investigator guy,
he said, take it down.
sent me a letter saying, why don't you go ahead and take that off of there? It's not supposed to be on your website.
Right.
And so, look, I love the federal government. I took it off. And I like being able to do this for a long time. So it doesn't exist there anymore.
But you guys could find it online.
Yeah, you could search. I mean, an interesting search, it's how I found it, would be OWCP form CA-16 APWU.
Yeah.
Because the APWU is where I found it initially. So if it's still there, you can find a copy of it there. But when management says, I don't know what that is, that's BS.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't actually, but it's their responsibility to get it. And if they don't give it to you, you need to go to your union and get help and potentially file a grievance if they won't give it to you. And the rule states that they have 4 hours from the claimed injury to give it to you.
Yes, they do.
It doesn't say they have 4 hours from the claimed injury to give it to you if they think you're hurt bad enough. Show me your medical license, Mr. Supervisor, please. So you can have a CA-16 when you have a CA-1 claim that's filed within 7 days. But you're going to report today, right now, and you're not going to have a problem with time,
Yes.
right? The only person that's going to have a problem with time is supervisor, because if they take more than 4 hours, you can file a grievance on that. And more of you need to file grievances on CA-16s, because too many of you don't get them. And it's time that you all collectively sort of like push back. And you push back by filing grievances. That's the power of the union.
Yeah, because sometimes you guys are messaging and calling that, now you have a bill and you never got the CA-16. Well, that's why you're going to get a bill.
And we don't want you to get a bill. I don't
Yeah.
want you to pay any money out of your pocket. And I don't want you to use any of your own sick and annual leave. That's not fair. I don't want you to have to do any of that. And I don't want you later on having to buy back time. These are things that prevent all these hassles for you, but you've got to be able to follow through with understanding this. You got to push for the CA-16. You got to push for the CA-17 or get the OWCP 5C. Start filling out your CA-7s right away so that when your claim is accepted, you can start getting paid right away. These are the proactive things you need to do to take care of yourself.
Right.
So to the person who said you never teach CA-16, here it was. We did it again.
Yeah, because we'll go into union, state conventions, national conventions, and Chris will ask, how many people have heard of CA-16? Maybe 3 or 4 people.
Yeah.
And no one has a clue. And right after he's finished training, everybody's like, CA-16, like that's the best thing they've ever heard. So make sure you educate yourself, tell your friends, tell your stewards that don't know what a CA-16 is. And again, it's in all of Chris's books. And I know the website is down because 3 of you messaged me this morning. We are going to get that fixed. So please be patient.
Yeah. Hey, and do me a favor, Charles, Mr. Honda Racing. Will you just send us a private message, or you're on YouTube?
Actually,
How can you do it?
Charles, call the 877 number. It is 877-787-OWCP. Call, my voicemail will come on. Leave me your full first and last name and your phone number.
Yeah,
We'll talk to you about that.
there's a lot of people named Charles. I would know. I'm Chris. There's a
Yeah.
ton of people named Chris. So you don't have to give your last name here, but go ahead and call that 877 number and let us know your first and last name, Charles. And we're going to help you out.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. He said again? If that's a question mark, yeah, sorry. All right. So any other questions on the CA-16, 17, or 7?
So far, I didn't get any, but this will be on our podcast. This will be, this phone number.
Oh, the phone number.
877-787 OWCP. I'm
or
going to type it.
6927.
I'm going to type it into the comments, actually. Go ahead, tell them about the podcast.
Yeah, so you will find this on the Breaking OWCP podcast. Put 6927. And you can find the Breaking OWCP podcast by going and downloading Breaking OWCP with Chris and Gini from wherever you like to listen to podcasts, right? Wherever you listen to it. I personally listen to mine on the Apple Podcast app. Some people like Spotify. There's the Google Play. I think you can download podcasts from Google Play.
Yeah.
Wherever you like to do it, that's what you do. Of course, you can find us on YouTube at Wednesday Night OWCP Chats and right here live at Breaking OWCP with Chris and Gini on Facebook. And but that podcast is so important because we usually do our lives on Wednesday nights at 8 Eastern. But on the West Coast, that's 5 o'clock. You folks are probably not even off work yet,
right,
oftentimes. So the podcast is there so you can listen to it like when you're driving your route or, you know, with some earbuds when you're casing mail or whatever you're doing, you can listen to it then. And so what we want to do is just put you in a position to be able to have the information regardless of your situation. So go to Breaking OWCP with Chris and Gini. It's a Breaking OWCP podcast.
Right. And if there's anything that you guys would like us to educate on and discuss and teach, you can drop it in the comments below and we will definitely take a look at that. Don't forget, we are on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, and TikTok. So you can find us there every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't forget, tell your friends about the Breaking OWCP podcast where you can download. And what else?
That's it.
That's it. So if anybody has any more questions, the video is always going to stay on here. You can comment. And if you have any other questions, you can private message us or comment below and we will answer them later.
All right, folks. Well, thanks for showing up and listening. We'll look forward to seeing you next time, and we're out.
Thanks, guys. Bye.